Nice to see you. To see you, nice. I hope you're all having a beautiful evening, or day, or morning, whatever it is there. Welcome to live stream. So I should just give you a bit more information about how the live stream works, and then we will get going and begin to meditate. So the way that live stream works, hang on, just let me check that my audio is working. So the way that live stream works, yes, is that you can ask me questions through Skype. My Skype address is Lisa Cairns 12. You can find it in the box below. And you can either speak to me through Skype, or you can write questions. So you can even speak and we can have a conversation, or you can write questions. But with the speaking, please put call me. Don't just call in. I know it says that on my website just to call in, and I do keep intending to change that. Maybe even says it in the box below. But it's actually too chaotic for me, because live stream doesn't happen instantaneously, even though you think it does, because that's what it's sold to you. I'm actually something like 30 seconds ahead of you. So when you call, I might be speaking with someone else or answering another question. So you might think it's my silence, but it isn't my silence. So if you could please write a message, and if you want to call in, please practice with Skype. So please make sure that you practice and you know that everything's working. Like you can do that by looking up online, like practice how to make sure Skype's working. But basically you just go to Skype preferences, video and audio, and then you can do a test call. And if you could please make sure you've got a good internet connection and headset with microphone, because otherwise it feeds back and it's not very nice. Yes. So just to give you a lineup of the timetable of this evening, for all those that like timetables, is that I start off with sitting in silence for 15 minutes to half an hour. And then after that, I do a introduction into non-duality. And then after that, I take questions. And you're welcome to ask questions about non-duality, about the personal story, anything that you want, you can ask about. Yes, and if you want to come to an event of mine, the next event I'm doing is a Tantra and non-duality retreat. I think it's the 29th of August to the 5th or 4th of September. I think it's 6 days, 7 nights, or I'm not positive about that. It might be 5 days and 6 nights. You have to look up and see. I'm not the organizer of the event. The organizer is called Siddhartha, and he is the Tantra teacher, and it's in northern Germany between Hamburg and Berlin. And now, because of coronavirus and the difficulties with Tantra, you're welcome to just join the retreat and like participate in what you like. Like if you don't want to do the Tantra, you don't have to do the Tantra. I don't think you can decide during the week, but if you just want to join my talks, I'm only doing maximum of 2.5 hours a day, and that might not all be talking. There might be like 1 hour of meditation. So just so you don't get your expectations up. And then the rest of the time, so normally it's about 4 or 5 hours of workshop a day, and the rest of the time it's Tantra and Siddhartha. But I can't guarantee I'll be talking for 2.5 hours. Like I might do some like meditation, sitting in silence. But you're welcome, he says that you're welcome to just join the non-duality part of the retreat if you want to, because a lot of people are scared because of coronavirus and touching each other, being too intimate. So yes, but please email Siddhartha for any more information. You can find his name on my website. And then the retreat after that I have in October, which is the, I think 19th of October for 7 nights. Oh, I forget. You work it out yourself. The dates are on there. I don't want to forcibly advertise. It's always confusing that. I remember when I did one retreat, I put that it was 10 days, which it was 10 days. But like, it was only nine nights. And I actually thought it was 10 nights. I just got confused. And it felt like a little bit of a con when I worked out it was only 9 nights. And it was kind of 10 days because it was 2 half days. Well, I can't remember exactly how it worked out. But it kind of felt like a little bit of a cheat, like an advertising cheat. But it's always confusing with retreats of how many nights and how many days it is. Yes. So, yes, so now we do a bit of meditation. So you can either do the I am meditation, like I've taught before, the mindfulness of breathing, or a meditation that you desire, or you can do what I do, which is just sitting here and not really doing anything very specific, so as you like. Pardon me. Good evening. We shall begin. We didn't do very long sitting that time, did we? That can happen. So, what is the title of the talk? How to achieve non-dual state. That's a clickbait, eh? How to achieve a non-dual state. And then I say, there is no such thing as a non-dual state. There are states which are always dualistic. So, I suspect what the question is asking is how to experience non-duality. And non-duality is always being experienced. It's just a person that believes that it can experience non-duality and lose non-duality. What is a person? I mean, that's a really abstract idea, a person. So in this moment, there is thoughts of feeling rising, there is sensations arising, there's feelings rising, and there's also this entity that's claiming to be an experiencer. But you can see, there can be a noticing that all of that is being experienced by something. So the appearance of the thoughts, the appearance of the sensations, the appearance of the feelings, and the appearance of that belief that that's you. So this energy that attaches into it. So all of that is being experienced by something. And what is it that's experiencing that? And that never leaves. You could say it's consciousness, but in a way, the consciousness and it's kind of like a bridge between nothing and everything. Something even deeper than consciousness. But it's okay to start with consciousness, to recognize that there is something that's conscious of the person, conscious of the thoughts, conscious of the feelings, conscious of the room, conscious of the floor, the computer, the sounds, the humming, my voice, my face. And that isn't personal. That exists beyond the personal. And so what the person does is the person then comes in and thinks, I experience consciousness. I know consciousness. I know myself. And then it claims something, and then it thinks that it gets it and loses it. So when it has this realization of consciousness of being present, there's normally like a bliss or an openness that comes with it. So then it thinks that's it. So then it seeks for this bliss or this openness. And that's actually just an experience that's appearing. That's not actually it. So this consciousness is experiencing now. not just in Lisa, like everybody's got equal amounts of that consciousness. Everybody is conscious. You're not in deep sleep. Deep sleep is here as well, but there's also awakeness. And deep sleep is that no-thingness. But there's also this awakeness. So I'm just trying to cool down my computer. I'm not sure if you guys can hear it, like shh, shh. Sometimes if you put it into no, I don't know where it is. They've changed it. My computer is not freaking out. Why is it freaking out so much? It's just a quick one. Look, pause, finder. Just as it is. It's hot today. So just recognize. It's not even you recognizing that. I mean, it's an appearance of you recognize. So the appearance of you that recognizes that there is something that knows that it's existing. There's also something that knows the attention is being moved. So often teachers put the attention back in consciousness, which is really beautiful practice. But just notice there's something that's registering it. So that which is doing it can't be it. Sometimes people believe that that registering is it. So there's something else here. And to me, what waking up is a shift from being that personal to the impersonal. But to me, it doesn't mean the end of the character. So there's still a character that is appearing in that. And there can be, but sometimes I say it like that there is identification with the character. And in a way, there always has to be a certain amount of identification with the character, and it sort of goes in and out of focus. Like if there's absolutely no identification with the character, then you're just totally boundless freedom. But it's kind of impossible to function on a human level. It's so free. It's this like absolute love and absolute mystery. And this freedom doesn't seem to require the character to be anything. So the character could have very low empathy, or maybe even no empathy. Or the character could have lots of empathy. The character could be really giving and generous, or the character could be stingy and grumpy. It doesn't seem to be dependent on what the character is. There does seem to be a letting go of the character that happens. Like, so there's some form of collapse, and this end to seeking, like seeking for freedom in time. But it doesn't mean that the character stops moving towards its wants and avoiding its pain, but it stops seeking those dynamics or those polarities. All suffering comes from this attachment to time being a freedom, but it's not even conscious, because in order to know things, you have to tell yourself stories about things now. So you have to tell yourself stories about who you are or what you are. Your actual essence is awakeness, so your essence is consciousness, but it's also innocent consciousness, it's not knowing. So in your pure state, you kind of, there is perception of things, but they're not known intellectually. And this is the end of separation. So there is camera, there is computer, there is light, but none of them are known as a word. They're just known as what they are in the pureness of the moment, and there isn't a separation or a distinguishment between things or objects. It's all one energy moving. And then we have this mind that can know and determine things, that can say, that is light, that is computer. And that one is the one that determines the story you tell yourself about yourself. So you can't necessarily know you're seeking unless you've got a story that says, I am seeking or I am not seeking. This is why so many non-duality teachers have different ways of describing this message and different ways of describing their current experience. Like, really, nobody can know if they're enlightened or not. You can only kind of compare on the human level to a story that you've had in the past, to what it was, to what it is now. You can't really know that you're free or not free, because who would know that? You can tell stories about it, but this is where the mistakes all begin to lie, including myself. Like, over the 10 years of teaching now, I can see that in the human character, on the story level, there was like arrogance in that story. Like, I can, and lack of humility, like lack of empathy at points. There were like all different things in this story, but it's not like it was wrong. It's just what happens when a character arises, is that you form stories about your world and about your experience, but they're never true. They're just depicting what's seemingly happening. You can't actually depict your experience. So if you say one thing about yourself one day, you can't, it's not truth. The reason that we have consecutive stories and stories that make sense is so that we can interrelate as humans and have like a collective society, like a collective reality in order to trade together and to function. But it's not actually really depicting what's happening. It's depicting what suits it and what its current up-to-date conditioning and thoughts are. And it's really impersonal. Like the fact that my character has had arrogance in the past and still definitely has arrogance now. Like the fact that happened, like the fact that appears, it's not anybody's fault. Like there isn't a Lisa here whose fault that can be. It's like a machine operating, producing particular thoughts about scenarios. So if I tell you that all suffering comes from seeking, it's totally down to God's will as to whether that body-mind produces those thoughts, so your body-mind produces those thoughts and kind of has a similar thought process as Lisa and sort of understands that on some level. But there isn't actually a solid person that understands that. So if you bump your head and get amnesia in like 5 years, you might forget that. So it's not inherently yours, and it's not inherent to awakening either, because you could like have awakening before you get amnesia, and then there's still that freedom, that shift thereafter, but you might not have any language or any idea what it is anymore. Isn't that crazy? It's so free, it's so impersonal, this. So whatever your character or my character does, like in my expression in having arrogance, in kind of insinuating to others and playing a story that I was free, like that is nonsense in the end. That isn't true in the end. And most probably I said that many times, like this is no revelation, but it can't be true for anybody, not just for Lisa. And like even on my website, like I tell a story about my awakening of a before and after, but if I were to have a head bump, I would forget that maybe. But it doesn't mean that there's not that connection to source. But I wouldn't be able to talk about a before and after anymore. There would just be like freedom, and that's all I was. And then I would be like, And then maybe somebody would tell me about that and I'd be able to recall that story. But really it's all irrelevant. It's all noise going on. And there is nobody that awakens. That's such arrogance to believe that there is somebody that awakens. Who would awaken? Who are you right now? You're this vast freedom that's connected to all, but has no personality. The personality is something that arises in it, just like the wind. Or just like a plastic bag in the wind. The plastic bag's like, I am the wind, or I am a jellyfish, swimming around in the sea. But none of it is personal. Personal. Even this seeking story that I tell again and again and again about like that seeking, like what creates the personality and what creates the suffering is seeking, even that is simply a story. So a lot of people in Buddhism or non-duality like relate to that story because it's like talked about so much. And it does seem to be that it's a collapse in seeking in the future, but even that is confined by words. And then who? There's just this beingness, this presence, this radical aliveness that's totally impersonal, and whatever happens on the human level isn't your doing, it isn't somebody's doing, it's simply a happening. It's so incredibly impersonal. So every sin that you've done, every saint-like thing that you've done is not yours, it's just a happening through that body. Every element of your life which you fucked up or which you've done amazingly isn't yours. It couldn't be any different. You're not that person. It's like calling the tree you. It's like calling the room you. I know on a psychological level that sounds really disturbed. Like So there's an appearance of the character, and the character needs to appear as if it's real in order to function in this society, but it's not you. Khaleesi doesn't walk around telling a story of who she is. She's like, I'm from Thailand, I was abandoned as a child, and Lisa saved me, but even she didn't want me in the beginning. I can be grumpy, I can be fierce, I'm strong. She doesn't walk around telling herself all these tales and then she's like, yes, and I'm going to get enlightened, or I am enlightened, or I have been enlightened, or I've always been enlightened, or I'm the most enlightened teacher there is on the whole planet, and my teaching is better than their teaching. That dog over there is speaking bollocks, and I'm the only one that's speaking the right teaching. Like, to her, like, she just doesn't care. There's not even a her that doesn't care. There is impulses, urges arising, and her body's traumatized, so we can talk about the fact that she can be scared and she can respond to aggression if she gets afraid. But that's not her, that's a condition of the body. So sometimes I work with people on the human level with the chakras and with the body, but it's not personal, it's not you, it's not an entity, it's a happening that the body responds to, and then it creates a lot of suffering, and then there's a lot of identification with that suffering. And then you really believe that the suffering is you, that you're a bad person, or that you're unlovable. But there is no you. Who is this you? Who? Who let the dogs out? Who? Who? Who let the dogs out? Who? Khaleesi is blissing out on the sofa, absolutely asleep. Absolutely conked out asleep. Keep trying to engage her every so often. I'm like, oh, Khaleesi. Oh, I did. Hello. I'm sorry to have woken you. Now I feel a little mean. But who is it that feels mean in the end? Who? It's just a thing that's coming. It's like arising out of this mouth, and then this I, but there is no I. There is no I. There's nobody gets enlightened. Nobody. And you will never, ever, ever find freedom in time. You'll never find freedom tomorrow. It's only here when there is this shift, when it's seen that you aren't that person. And it's so impersonal that who you are is always this source, this energy of awakeness. And this energy of awakeness is empty on one side. It's empty beyond your wildest dreams. You can't even imagine how empty it is, because any imagining you have is a thing. It's empty and it's awake. There's this I am, there's this amness, the sense of being. It's empty and awake simultaneously. Empty and awake simultaneously. Oh, well done, hi. Sorry, I don't have a good singing voice. It just came out. It's not me doing it, it just came out. Who is this you? Who? My mind is always like telling its story of itself. Me. Who is this story of you? I just have to check that everything's working. I can get this thought. Hello, the microphone is working. The stream is working. Lisa is working. Yeah, I mean, it's impersonal as a computer. And so are you. You are not this person. And everything you want and everything you dream about is all bullshit. This can make the human more steady and the human more happy and the life more easy, but it's all bullshit. You're never going to get happy through having money, through having possessions. Like, if you take the money, I was thinking about this the other day, and more than likely I then was going to forget about these thoughts that I had, but I think I'm just in the place in between where I can still remember it. So I was thinking about money and the curse of having a lot of money. I speak with quite a lot of people with a lot of money. Maybe it's because they have a lot of money, they can contemplate these ideas. Like Ramesh Balsekar always used to say that when people are in poverty, they can't think about their existence. So it's only when people have a relative amount of comfort that they can think about the nature of reality. So like Westerners, because Western society is quite stable now, they tend to be more interested in this than people in India that are like scraping by for survival. Okay, so say if we had 150 people. So there was a room, a town hall of 150 people, and that was all that existed in your world. There weren't more people than 150. So at the moment, we've got so many people in this planet, like you can kind of disappear in it. But imagine if there were only 150 people in your group, and you knew everybody by name. And the way in which you survived was that you all helped each other out, and you all exchanged resources. And then over the years, one of the people became very good at collecting the resources, and other people weren't so good at it, so they didn't collect so many resources. But that one person didn't share the resources with the other 149. It kept building and building and building. And then eventually it had like massive mounds of resources in its house, and everybody else in the environment was really struggling because firstly that person had taken a lot of the resources from that environment and they just weren't as good as that one person was that collects the resources. And the way that we think in our mentality is that because they did well and because they were successful at collecting resources, they deserve it. We kind of think this in our society, but it's kind of, that's what we're told on the more conscious level, but maybe unconsciously our body doesn't think that. So then say you're back to your 150 people, and this person that's really good at it doesn't share, even though the other people are beginning to starve and the other people are really struggling. And that one that is really good has lots of food and can look after themselves, so they can keep on mining for resources. So their stash keeps growing and everyone else's gets smaller and smaller. Eventually what's going to happen is there's going to be a rebellion against that one person with all the resources. So what that person might do, that one person with all the resources, is they buy some of the locals. So they kind of say, okay, I'll share my resources with you, but you have to protect me from everybody else. They kind of bring some people on board, but then they exclude the others. And just think about that, like reflect on that, like have empathy for all those situations. It's not that the person with all the resources is bad. Like that's the simplistic conclusion. It's not that they're bad. They're not the baddie in that scenario. It's not the people that are rebelling against that one person that has all the resources that are bad. It's just like looking at it, like looking at the catch-22 of the scenario, is that when we all mine for our resources independently, there's going to be ones that achieve more. But eventually what will happen in that group is there will be a civil war, even amongst the 150 people. I'm not laughing at them, I'm just laughing at the scenario of it, because as those others begin to starve and go into decay, they'll fight and try to get the resources of the one that's hoarded it all up. But the one that's hoarded it all up feels like it's rightly mine, like I put all this work into it, I thought about it. If you had saved more if you hadn't been so lazy, if you hadn't been all these things, then you would have got resources yourself. So then there is this war between these two different fractions. So in the end, our society can't work, because this is always what's going to happen. Like, our society can't work the way it is. It does work because people die out over time and the resources get moved around enough for people to kind of like have some relative peace. But it can't really work. It's always going to be, and we kind of like have this really naive idea as seekers and as the spiritual community that if we all become enlightened, then that will be the end of it. I kind of get the impression that if we all wake up, then society would be based on trust, which would be a different thing rather than hoarding our resources independently. But currently, it can't work. So if you do really successful in this society, what happens to you is you then have to guard your money against everyone else. The people from the bottom, so if you've never been really successful in this society, you don't really understand it. But if you begin to go up to the top, you have to begin to guard your resources about other people that want it. And it's so natural that other people are going to want it. They're not bad. That's blame. That's like the simplistic way of seeing it. It's just natural that they're going to want the resources. Of course you're going to want to feed your loved ones and to feed yourself. And we think that like everyone has this idea that money, like gaining all these resources, is the end to all our problems. But it's not. It's not the end to your problems. Like if you look at really rich people, especially people that everybody knows is rich, they're always battling off people trying to take their resources. Like as soon as you get a certain amount of wealth, particularly in places like America, where it is more open to suing, then you begin to get people suing you, like finding problems with what you do, but you don't really see this when you've not got lots of resources. But then when you get lots of resources, it's like a battle to keep those resources. The tax man comes for it. The people sue you. Like, so if you have an accident and they find out, they'll sue you, or a lawyer will come to them saying, let's sue them. You deal with people on a day-to-day basis asking you for money. Like, so people think, oh, they're rich, I'll go and ask them. So you're constantly dealing with that. And then if you don't give those people money, they begin to hate you or spread gossip about you. Like, what a stingy person that person is. But they don't know that everybody's asking that person for money. There's so many complications, and then you put your money in the stock market, which then means you maybe invest in human rights atrocities. Like, who knows when you put your money in the stock market what you're investing in. Like, your money might be you might be making money off of like gold or something, which is terrible cruelty for people. So then you've got that problem. Like, then if you invest your money, if you begin to put it in different places, is there an ethical way to do it? And really, it's not easy to do it ethically. So it's never going to work, this resource thing, but it's the biggest carrot that keeps people going. But if I can get enough resources, I will then be happy. I can do this or that. Then you'll be bored. Collecting resources gives you something to do during the day, even if you sometimes don't like doing it, you kind of have to do it, so it pushes you into it. But then you don't have to collect resources every day. Then you think, oh, I can be creative, but there's not such a motivation to do it, and then you can like become bored or depressed or have apathy towards it, not be able to maintain a routine to be creative. At least when you're going for resources, you have a job and you have to do things. When you don't, so then you get a lot of people that have lots of money and that don't have things to do turn to drugs or spirituality. But this is such a daydream for people. It's such an attachment to people. I have to have things. And this is what creates the you, because you then seek in stories to get things and to obtain things, and there is this focus on you, like what you're getting, what you're doing, what you have, what you don't have. Who is this you? Who are you? Who is this person that's going to obtain resources? Even when you have them, it's such an abstract thing that you have the money in the bank to save you from what? All these illusions that anything in time will bring you happiness. I can't say that like the character of Lisa is free of it. Like I'm getting quite a lot better now. Like I feel like the last 4 or 5 years has been good training for me. But you know, when I get a big bill, it can be painful in the moment. But then in the end, like when you feel that feeling and you let it pass, like who cares? Like who cares? Like you're right here, right now. What is there to get or to not get here? Who is rich or poor here? Who is in debt or free here? Who? Okay, we go to questions. If there is any questions. So if you want me to call you, please say, call me. And I will call you. Shut this. Sorry if the sounds are not so good tonight. It's hopefully my microphone blocks it out, but my computer, I haven't got my fan on for my computer. I have a nice fan that sits underneath the computer, and I thought, it's fine tonight. It doesn't need it, but it does. It's quite a maneuver putting it in because it's a little lazy. This is from Osborne. Hey Osborne. Hi Lisa. Thank you for your live broadcast. I just wanted to tell the people that there are now over 2,000 video clips to choose from in the archive playlist on the channel. I invite people to subscribe and give some likes if they like this video. If anyone is annoyed by YouTube ads, they can go to the Facebook clip page instead. Thanks Osborne. So there is another channel. I sometimes forget to advertise this, but it's always my intention to do it. So there's my channel. So I only have one YouTube channel, and that's called Lisa Cairns, I think. Yeah, it's Lisa Cairns. And I do my live streams on there, and I don't edit the talks. I sometimes edit them if there's been a bit of a problem with them, but they're generally just the whole talk, and I do my live stream on there. And sometimes I add some extra videos, but most of the time it's just that. There is another gentleman called Osborne who does a channel called Lisa Cairns video clips, and he basically edits all the talks and puts them on YouTube, and he puts titles on them and puts different names on them. He also has a Facebook page as well, and he says that on the Facebook page there's no ads, it's only the ads on YouTube. So you can go look into that. So it's called Lisa Cairns dash video clips, and if you look around in there, I'm sure you'll get the link to the Facebook page if you don't want to watch ads. It's kind of like the double bind with YouTube. I think you do better if you have ads, like they advertise you more. Like, because YouTube wants to make money from the ads too, so if you put on the ads, you actually do better on YouTube. I think that's the way it is. But also, it's the way that a lot of people get paid as well. So I know that like YouTube is such an amazing resource, and it would be so amazing if people just donated and then there weren't ads. But the reality is that people don't think to donate, or it's just not in the mentality to donate, not just for my videos, but for any of the videos that you see on YouTube. So the way that people make money is through the advertisements. It's like a bit of bind, but it used to be something you could get called ad blocker for YouTube, which was amazing, but I think they managed to program that out. I don't put ads on my YouTube account. I have sometimes in the past had these little banners on there because YouTube wanted me to do it, but I don't do it because I can't be asked with the taxing stuff. I'm so lazy with this sort of stuff. Like, it requires like extra work for me with the paperwork. The less paperwork I can have for the taxing stuff, the better. I'm so funny. It's not that I inherently care whether they're on there or not. Hey Isabel, beautiful to see you here. Hey Nick, bonjour, or bonsoir Nick. Hello Bia, nice to hear from you Bia. Lots of love to you. Your talks are appropriate so much, or appreciated so much. You are pure beauty inside and out. Thanks Bia. I think I may be reading that word wrong, appropriated. Appreciated maybe. That's sweet Bia. Hi Manfred, can you talk more about deep sleep? What impulse is it that brings the source stillness to go into consciousness? What impulse brings the I am up and go again from deep sleep? Yeah, that's too complicated, Manfred. I don't know the answer to that. Like I don't know what inspires life to create. Because this is most probably way beyond our capabilities as humans to contemplate on. It's so complex. I could talk more about deep sleep. So deep sleep, like all of us know, is the absence of everything. Absolute everything. It's not even an imagination that we can come up to of nothing, of a big void, because even that's an imagination of something. It's the absolute absence of everything. Absolute absence of everything. So somebody said to me, I think it was Nick, said to me something along the lines of, yeah, but in deep sleep the body still wakes up if you call it. But that's irrelevant. That might be the case in this world, that the body wakes up if you call it, but that's irrelevant as to what deep sleep is. Like, so just put that to a side. That's all happening in the manifestation, and that's happening in the dream. But in deep sleep, there is absolutely nothing there. So that doesn't mean because the body can wake up when somebody calls it, it doesn't mean there's something there in deep sleep. That's kind of the functioning in the dream. In deep sleep, there's absolutely nothing. Nothing, 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 nothing. There's not a body that's asleep or not asleep. It's absolutely nothing. From another angle, that argument that the body wakes up when you shout at it, that's appropriate. But from this angle, I'm trying to show you or point out that deep sleep is absolutely nothing. And this is emptiness. This is what all things arise from. And right now, there is deep sleep appearing in everything. Pardon me. Before I came on talk tonight, I had 2 hard-boiled eggs and they're making me burp. I have hard-boiled egg burps. I apologise for this. So that deep sleep is where all life is emerging from. You could even go one step further and say all life is that deep sleep. What's even more crazy when you go down this path is you realise that there can never be solely deep sleep, because deep sleep doesn't exist. So when you're in deep sleep, nothing's happening, so therefore it's instantaneous, which is the same as this life. So deep sleep is instantaneous. So even though the body has been asleep for 10 hours, the experience of this deep sleep is asleep and wake again. Like when I had my wisdom teeth out, they were like counting back, like 10, 9, and the next thing I knew was a nurse talking to me. So we don't experience deep sleep. You can't experience deep sleep because what would there be to experience? Because there are no things in deep sleep. And if there's no things, there's no time. Time only can exist with things, with the movement of things. So deep sleep is not existent. So it's not moving through time. It doesn't contain time in it. So your experience of this sleep, deep sleep, even though you're not experiencing it, but what happens is that it just is on, off, off, on. You fall asleep and then you're awake again. You don't recognize the movement of any time. So in a way, you could be in this deep sleep. So life could be in rest without manifestation for billions and billions of years, seemingly, even though this can't really happen, but it could seem like that for billions of years. But it would actually, in deep sleep time, be instant. There wouldn't have been that passage of time that's moved. Just like now. So now there's 2 things. There is everything and there is nothing. And nothing ever moves. Nothing ever moves. It's still, it's right here. And then there is the appearance of everything, which is moving through an apparent time. And they come together. You can never have deep sleep because it doesn't exist. So you can only ever have nothing and everything. So people like to say that nothing is the source, but really that's only our limited, simplistic minds that like to think like that. They are undividable, because if there's only nothing, then there's nothing that happens, so it doesn't exist. So there can only ever be nothing and everything. So they can only simultaneously be the source, like the yin and yang sign goes together. Something like that. Yada, yada, yada. Is that understood? Any more questions? It's cool subject to start on. Thanks, Margaret, for the question. Hi, Mikey. Thank you for your lovely talk today. Your voice illuminates the place that is appearing in. Love. Nice singing too. Thank you, love. Thanks, Mikey. I don't think I'm saying your name right. I have something called dyslexia, which is not a disability, it's just a different functioning of the brain. And it might be better if you put, there's a message about my audio under my mouth. So, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so on Kindle they've got this amazing font for dyslexic people. So I have it green because I also have a problem with colours, which is to do with dyslexia, but I don't understand it. But then also, they have this font. It's so much easier. Like, I have an aversion really to reading because it hurts my eyes. But when it's in this font, it's really relaxing for my eyes. It's really cool the way the brain works. I don't know if you can see it. It's got this special font. It's kind of like fatter at the beginning, at the bottom. And that's so much more relaxing for my eyes. But anyway, that whole speech is just to basically say that it's nothing personal if I can't read your name. It's hard enough me trying to fathom all the English names, let alone ones that come from other countries. It doesn't make sense in my brain like it does in everybody else's. So I apologise to those people whose names I get wrong. Raphael. Hi, Raphael. Hi, Dennis. Lisa. Your microphone is very distant sounding. Hello? Oh, yeah. I can see that there's a problem on my thing. I don't know what to do. Hello? Hello? Maybe that's a bit better. I turned the auto level off. No, it's like really quiet. Hello? 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 I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. Hello? Limiter on. I don't think that's the right thing. Yeah, sorry guys. I have to work that out for next week. Hello? I apologise if the sound's not very good. I can see it's not very good. It's the same as what I normally always do. Okay. Lisa, it looks like your clipped on microphone isn't working. The sound is coming from your computer mic. Hello? Are you alright? Let's see if I can fix it. Microphone. It says it's the microphone. Technology. Okay, I'm just going to take a moment's break while I phone my technical advisor, and then I will return to you lovely people. One moment. Hello. Do you know what the problem was? it was me. I had put the microphone in the headset. It was me. It was me. Well, that's very good that it's not that my audio system is broken. I apologize. What a dillweed. Yeah, please tell me in future if there's a problem with my microphone, because I do have a technical assistant that can help me. I pay them good money to help me. They weren't there just then. I worked that one out by myself, that I'd plugged it into the wrong hole. But yeah, thank you so much, Dennis, for telling me. And please feel free, guys, if there's a problem technically, to tell me, because that was easily fixed. Thanks a lot, Dennis. Pardon, Nick. Money worries seem to be fundamentally about safety and security. You used to say it's that and looking for love as the two main motivations. And typing this, it occurs that spirituality might be the search for both in one. What do you think? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. This is why the spiritual teacher can be the biggest heartache and let you down the most, because you put everything into spirituality. You're looking for love and looking for that safety, that money safety. At least with money, it's just like physical safety. Some people look through love from money, but it's normally more divided up. When they get to spirituality, they like throw everything in, and they often get really let down by the guru because the guru isn't perfect. Or they get let down by the subject. They feel the subject's betrayed them. Yes. Thanks, Nick. So I do think that all seeking comes from seeking for love, and then seeking safety, and seeking to avoid not being loved, and seeking to avoid lack of safety. And that's obviously what your natural movements towards pleasure and pain are going to be. You're not going to be like moving towards the war zone. You'll normally move away from it. Hello, Christopher. Welcome. Hi, Ponachami. We are hearing you well, thank you. Oh, good. Carlos. Hi, Carlos. If there's anyone that wants to call in, please say call me, and I'm delighted to speak to you. Hi, Lisa. I was wondering if in your experience of non-dual state involving a fading or reduction of the desires, like in general, not just material stuff. Yeah, for sure. Because before, a lot of the desires were not really your desires. They were like a mental idea which you were trying to obtain. So our body has these natural impulses in the moment to move one way or the other. And then there is this extra story on top. So you might have an impulse to move towards something you love, so a particular food or a particular person. And then on top of that, what happens is this elaborate ego story that can appear. They are the love of my life. We're souls that are meant to be meeting through many lifespans. They are better than all other lovers. They complete me. We're going to have children, have a family, and live happily ever after. They're going to be really successful. All these other stories. Whereas in the moment, that doesn't exist. In the moment, there is just a love and a desire for that person stood in front of you, which is absolutely beautiful. But then there's all these exaggerated stories on top, which bring an extra high and create something called seeking. And as you begin to confront all these illusory desires, then there can be a depressive feeling, because what you're used to is this addictive high that comes from chasing the love of your life. Thanks, Carlos, for your question. Carol. Carol sent me a picture of her carpet, maybe, or her sofa. Thanks, Carol. Devon. Hi, Lisa. Why is investing in gold in the stock market bad for humanity? Thanks. I think it's very cruel if you look into the farming of gold. I don't know so much about it. It's more just what I've heard, but I think that it's very cruel. The excavation of gold. There's something along the lines of that word. I think that there's lots of like slave labor. I think they use children often. I think it's very dangerous as well. I mean, I think that's what it's renowned for. Because I think that most of the gold is found in like third world countries. Are we allowed to say third world countries? But I don't know what you call it. Like in poorer countries that don't have so many government restrictions on the way that they can treat their workers, and so therefore the companies exploit the workers. I don't know if there's so much gold excavated in Western countries. I think it's mostly in Africa. But I don't know, you have to look it up on the internet, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty cruel what they do. But je ne sais pas. I think there's gold in all of our iPhones. They use gold, I think. Something like that. Something that's very cruel in our iPhones. It's impossible to escape. I don't think there's any more questions. I think that's it. Hi Lisa, if you experience a big high in a love relationship, does that mean you are attracting a big low simultaneously that will manifest also? Yeah. Because if you're attracting a big high, then they're most probably fulfilling lots of unfulfilled desires. So if you don't feel good enough, they might be making you feel good enough. If you felt unloved or lonely, they might be fulfilling that. So they're fulfilling lots. Falling in love is really beautiful. But in a way, what it is falling in love is, it creates in many this feeling and this experience of not seeking anymore. But they think it's the object, and this is where they suffer. But actually it's that a lot of your unresolved desires are being fulfilled in that interaction. And then you think the falling in love is because of the other person. And when you begin to think that it's because of the other person, then you will suffer. If you suspect you're going to lose it, you'll try to hold on to it and maintain it when it's an impossibility. So yeah, big high means big low. There is a thing as falling in love that's like in a relationship that's really pure, like these two bodies that come together, that really meet together, but it's really it's like an expression of that love rather than something that's completing you from the outside. Thanks, Monique. Thanks, Carlos. Hi again, Lisa. Sorry I missed the beginning of your talk. So how do we really achieve this imagined non-dual state, as you would say? Who would know? Thanks for answering, Dennis in Kentucky. Yeah, you can't. You can't know it. You just are it. There can be a mind that comes up that compares it to other experiences in your human life, but that's just a mind, that's nothing. That's like a bee like buzzing around like, this is important, and then if there's attachment to that bee, then attachment to that thought, then you believe it's you and you believe it's real and you believe that you've had the experience, whereas that's not true. Here's a question that was asked on the Clips channel. Don't know if it's okay for you to answer now. The question was, hi Lisa, I want to ask you so many things, but the most important is, why are we here? Once you awaken, which I am not, then what? Are we forced and obliged to exist as consciousness? For what purpose, forced and obliged? You must live as consciousness. That's cute. Do you have the hope to ever dissolve into nothingness and finally get liberated from being? I really hope you have the time to read and maybe answer. I mean, the simplistic answer to that is that looking at life through thoughts is never going to really capture what's happening. So we as humans have this concept of meaning and purpose, and it's our concept. It's not actually something that exists inherently in life. And we then begin to get into this mentality that we have to have a meaning in a timeline. Like, so you have to be the savior of this world, or you have to become enlightened, or you have to find the meaning, which is to advance an alien species. It's the way in which we think as humans. And then we take that thinking as reality. Like, even me saying this won't really make an indent in what you believe. So I'll say this and it won't pacify, more than likely, your desire to understand meaning. It will be a long, drawn-out habit that you've done for many years. And it will oscillate between highs of finding meaning, the partner, the children, the job, certain scenarios. So there'll be the highs of that, and then there'll be the lows of feeling meaningless, depressed, stuck, without meaning. And they live as opposites. And we believe that one has reality, the pleasurable one, and the other one is like a hidden fear that haunts us. So we believe as humans, or people believe, that there is a meaning out there for us, and that we one day as people will arrive at that meaning. And there is no meaning. And that's not like you imagine it. You're like, oh, she means no meaning as the opposite to meaning. That's not what I mean. I mean there is no meaning with no opposites. That life isn't meaningful or without meaning. It is neither. These are human constructs. And consciousness is absolutely enamored by itself. It's free. It doesn't care what happens in time. It doesn't care about one day arriving anywhere. It is totally free in the experience. And from that place, all seeking subsides. So you're not seeking for meaning anymore. It's just not cared of. The human has certain pleasures and pains which orientate the body, but it just doesn't care. Your essence is free. Your essence is absence of suffering. It's total emptiness, appearing as fullness. From the human mind, that seems unsatisfactory. But when the experience happens, the seeking disappears. So when that shift happens, the seeking disappears. And so it doesn't matter anymore. And then there's people like, yeah, but you're stuck in the non-dual state. You need to come back out of that to then go back in and find your true purpose in life. The human needs purpose in the human world, and so it will move on the human level. But on the absolute, it's free. Meaning and purpose is from the solar plexus chakra. And the solar plexus chakra, in its positive, is I can do it, I will make it, this has meaning, this means something, I can do it, I can achieve, I can be prosperous. And in its negative is meaninglessness, hopelessness, despair, depression, lack of energy. And what happens is we get stuck in these chakras and we believe them to be reality, and we look for freedom in them. And we believe that finding meaning or not experiencing the depression is freedom. Whereas something else can happen when there is no longer a running away from the pains and pleasures of the chakras or the pains and pleasures of experience. There's just a resting in what you are. And then in resting in what you are, there's something else. There is something so deep and free and out of control and unexplainable. It's the absolute opposite in a way to the human. And this is all you ever wanted. It's magic. Thank you for your question, whoever that was, someone from YouTube. So this is from Monique. So do I understand it correctly that all there is what apparently is, what arises, and what arises is one, and that can only be experienced like that after an apparent shift, and even in there can be no understanding of what it is that arises. There can be apparent understanding, and there can be like a knowing of this. So in a way, you're always falling out of the seeking self, but the seeking self is only remembering itself as seeking, so it can't really remember being present or being presence. But yeah, kind of, it's like that in my interpretations of the words, but in your interpretations of the words, we might mean something completely different. That's all the questions. Maybe we lost a lot of people because the audio was so bad in the beginning. But if you have any more questions, then write. If not, I shall call it a night. Listening to your description a lot, it sounds a lot like what the Buddhists teach, but with that teaching there is a long and arduous path to tread in order to get to that state. But you seem to suggest that state comes just by seeing the apparent, understanding how things are, and that there's not something to be done. Doing happens. I was practicing Buddhist 5 years. I don't mean to imply that, but I'm sure that's what it sounds like. It's not a seeing of a personal thing. In a way, you could say it's grace. I think even the Buddhists would say that as well. I do recommend that people on the apparent human level strive to settle down their human dynamics to become of more clearer mind, more balanced emotions. So working with the chakras, working to understand what the mind is. Doing different practices to become more calm, and in that then it seems like when the mind is less busy, then there's more of a chance that this is seen. But life is magic, not logic, and I can't guarantee that. Like in the end, it's grace. You can meet someone that's been a drug addict, never done any of this stuff before, and has a massive awakening. It seems like prior to awakening, there always tends to be a massive surrender. You know, life can snooker you into that, but it seems to happen for people that practice as well. And who knows about the past life things? You know, maybe some energies are more ripe in this life than others. And that's not a person, that's just energies. I'm going to get barked at in a moment. She wants out. Please send grace to all of us to obtain that. Sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at Khaleesi. Yes, I wish I could do that. Like, that would just be wonderful. How is emptiness experienced in your case? How do you experience that there is nothing appearing as everything, and that nothing and everything are one and the same? It's just known. There were many like little awakenings seemingly in the storyline, and then there was like one with the nothing side of things, which happened when I was in India, and I've told you guys about loads of times, about when I just woke up when I was asleep. So I sort of was in deep sleep and sort of woke up, which can't really happen, but seemingly did. It was an experience. And then after that, it was known, even though there was still this energetic contraction, it was just known. And then the love side of things was happening all throughout myself, all throughout my life, where I was falling in love with things, and it wasn't necessarily because of something. So it's like I would just fall in love, and then it's eventually these two sides came together, the nothing and the everything. The everything is love and the nothing is wisdom. But it's emptiness, and it's not me that sees it. It's just known so deeply. I can't see it as a thing. It's not something that I can, like as Lisa, be like, let me see all the nothing around us. It's just known. Like it's there. It is. Really appreciate that you answer, I think, similarly. I'm going to get barked at again. Well, I think I will leave in a moment. The questions are over, I think, for tonight. So I'll give you a sneak peek of Khaleesi. She's so cute. She's wanting to bark at me because she wants her dinner. Hello, Isi. She's not impressed. This is her look. Looks like she wants out in the garden, or she wants her dinner. Is Lisa not giving you din-dins? Where's your din-dins? You need chick-chick, do you? Boopy doopy, come say hello. Come say hello. He's like, no, I'm not giving you any love if you don't give me the food. Come on, you can't really see you because of the light. Come and say hello. Come on. Come and say hello. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, Evie. Boop, beep, boop, boop, boop. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Hello. 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 Aren't you a cutie? Oh, yeah. You're a cutie, aren't you? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, your little booty tickled. Okay. That is good. That is good. Yeah, thank you for a beautiful talk. I wish you well, and I shall see you next Sunday. Goodbye, EE. Say goodbye. Bye-bye.